LMG.
First started out with 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack. When I first started out with 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack.
Man, I first started out with 2Halves in a stack of that Tuskegee green off my income tax. I ain't the king of the South, but I'm the king of my city, and it's my time to shine, and ain't nobody fucking with me. You can say what you want, but nobody do it better. Never sold it in the streets, always sold it on center. With from selling cigarettes to selling, get your green on Tuesdays and Thursdays, re-up on them things. Then me and my boy, we had a fallout. Then I hit the west side, Smiley Coat, no doubt. Cause I know who had that fight when the school had a drought. Everything low-key, but I always sold out. When nobody fucking with me, shout this thing in the lunch line. Book 35, but I always put in crunch time. If a nigga had the credit, believe I was getting my respect in this game. And nigga, I earned mine. When I first started out with 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack. When I first started out with 2Halves in a stack, with these bras in my lap
and pop pockets on swole.
When I first started out with 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack. When I first started out with 2Halves in a stack, with these bras in my lap
and pop pockets on swole.
Had this brawl in the schoolyard, stuffing up a coochie hard. I give respect to that girl, cause that girl had heart. Came woke me up out of class when I was sleeping. Say they had feds on campus, they was creeping, seeking, trying to find the trails of that get you green, but they didn't find, and I played it cool on the scene. I messed up and had to get rid of my green, let it cool down and bring and brought fire to the scene. Start making more green off of selling green. Them boys changed up, they game, it wasn't no stopping me. They throw the party every week, hit the motel scene. Everybody getting thrown while she freaking on me. All was off in the club, man, sitting low key, popping nothing but the best while she shaking on me. If a nigga think I'm lying, nigga, ask him be. I'm the realest in the T, ain't no bitch in me, nigga. When I first started out with 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack. When I first started out with 2Halves in a stack, with these bras in my lap
and pop pockets on swole.
When I first started out with 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack. When I first started out with 2Halves in a stack, with these bras in my lap
and pop pockets on swole.
Now this facts, not fiction, wasn't no competition. A nigga really did this, handling strictly business. Went through some struggles and trials and dug some trenches. My heart was relentless, cold-blooded pimpin'. Then I met this white girl, man, she was in this hard thrown dope game, more than a weed thing. Man, she was down, man, but she had left, man. 2Halves in a stack on deck, I paid dues, man.
2Halves in a stack, 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack, 2Halves in a stack, 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack, 2Halves in a stack, 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack, 2Halves in a stack, 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack, with 2Halves in a stack.
LMG, grade A, baby. Cause you the one I chose, cause you the one I chose, cause you the one I chose.
I wanna see it from the front, I wanna see it from the back. Let me see it from the side, I show them boys